Today on Near Mint Condition, Trial by Combat.
We're having a roundtable discussion of Season 6 of Game of Thrones that just wrapped up.
We've left the books behind, and now winter is coming.
Winter is coming all over our faces! By the way, spoilers. Massive spoilers everywhere. If you don't know what a White Walker is, or who Jon Snow is, or that chick who is hot with the blonde and the boobs, or you want to like be contained with fan fiction or books, or we're going to talk about everything.
Hey, Rob, we're going to spoil Game of Thrones for you entirely.
Let me do the recap. So, to spoil you on everything, because you haven't read or done any of this, you haven't watched anything, alright?
Why have you not watched or read this?
So, I'm one of those weird people where, and I don't know why I'm like this, I want all the books to be out, and I want to read all the books. Like, my wife has read all the books that have come out thus far, and I want,
You know that's never going to happen, right?
It'll happen.
Like, you're gonna read Brandon Sanderson's version of Game of Thrones, The Song of Ice and Fire.
No,
if you're gonna wait that long.
So, recap. There was this king, right? He died. Then there were these 5 guys who want to be kings. They're all dead. Meanwhile, up north, some shit is going down. They're building a wall to keep white people out, apparently. I don't know.
For the first time ever.
I'm gonna build a wall.
Put up to keep the whites out.
And so, shit's happening up there, and apparently, Jon Snow, he's dead. Or is he?
So, what we're going to do in this episode is recap the first 9 episodes of Season 6, go over the big themes, the big plot points, character development. Then we're going to pause and watch the last episode, not on camera, thank God, and then come back and see how all our predictions are wrong, and sum it up from there.
All right. So the first thing we're going to talk about is returning characters that haven't been seen for a while.
So, for instance, let's see. Brutus from Rome returned. Edmure Tully, who we don't actually care about, who is Catelyn Stark's younger brother.
Tony Stark?
Yes, Tony Stark's younger brother.
Following.
Sans Armor, who has been held by the Freys, who also returned for the first time.
So since Season 3, when the Red Wedding took place, it was his wedding.
Was that Season 3?
That was
Holy
Season
shit,
3.
that was a
Episode
long
9.
time ago. They killed off Catelyn and Robb.
Yep.
Catelyn, in the books, comes back as kind of a zombie, like the
Is she part of like the sort of White Walker?
No, not the White
Walker.
She's the Lord of Light. How there's that side storyline of how Thoros of Myr keeps bringing back
Beric Dondarrion.
Beric Dondarrion, thank you. He brings back Catelyn Stark in the same way, but she has lost basically all of her humanity, and she's just been on revenge.
Her throat was slashed, so she can't even talk. Like, she kind of mumbles, and it's kind of creepy. And everybody calls her Lady Stoneheart.
And that is, frankly, I am so glad they left that out.
Well, I was upset that they left it out because... So, Book 3, A Storm of Swords, is one of my favorite books ever. Mm-hmm. Not just one of my favorite Song of Ice and Fire books, but it's one of my favorite books. And the ending was so cool because I'm like, who are these people that are hanging the Freys, right? Because they're being hung at the end. And it's the Brotherhood without banners. So... And you realize...
Which is Beric Dondarrion's gang.
Yeah, you realize that he's no longer there. That apparently he died, which you find out later. But you realize that it's Catelyn Stark at the very end that says hang him or something really creepy. And I'm like, holy shit, what does that mean?
Well, hold on.
Because it's not like a good bringing back, like, you know, when they bring Superman back, like, you know, he's clean, he's good looking, he's shaving. For some reason, he looks younger.
Yeah.
So we have the Freys, Bran...
Bran is finally back, yeah.
Rickon and Asha came back, which we'll get to that in a second.
They came back.
The Greyjoys came back, which I didn't think that was going to happen.
Well, that was a major storyline that was set up, the Kingsmoot. Yeah.
Yeah, that in the books I remember happening like in a couple of chapters. This was like 5 minutes. I'm the king. So another character that came back that we have not seen since season 1 was Benjen Stark.
Oh, yeah.
Cold Hands in the books. Even though in the books they
Yeah,
don't really...
you know who it is in the books.
Right. You know who it is, and obviously the producers knew who it was because they're like, we're not even going to play that Cold Hands game. It's Benjen Stark. And he's taking Bran and Mira somewhere up north. We don't know where, but...
Yeah, so it was nice to see him back.
Hopefully where more magical creatures are luring, like walking trees that can help fight the
Well, he was kind
army.
of the first character that had some fate. He might be dead, but we never found his body. So, and then they never really touched on it again. So it's nice to see at least that plot line come back.
Yeah.
You know, even if you didn't know it from the books.
But the biggest surprise return was the Hound, a character that has been gone since season 4. So it reminded me of an anime filler because like it's like he's found peace. You know, he's with these group of like hippies and that have found God
hippies
again.
in medieval times.
Wait,
But you know something's happened. And Ian McShane was in this episode.
You know why you know something's happening? Because it's Al fucking Swearingen who is saying we've left violence behind. It's like, no, you haven't.
I really wanted him to say cocksucker like at least 5 times. If you guys ever watched Deadpool.
This is what I was gonna say. This is not Deadpool.
Ian McShane.
Yeah.
But he came back, and you know he's like, okay, I'll stay peaceful, and that didn't last long. They ended up like the Brotherhood, the Rogue Brotherhood. Banners came in and killed everybody. So the Hound went to go and fucking chop some people up and eat some fucking chicken because that's what the Hound does. So that was a really cool return. That was probably my favorite return. And the coolest part about his return is every season of Game of Thrones always has episode 1 has a prologue, and then they kick off the music, right? Mm-hmm. This is the first season that it did not have a prologue. It just kicked off with the music. And I remember telling my wife as we were watching, I'm like, oh, that's kind of weird. Maybe they just wanted to extend the episode. But they left the prologue for episode 6 when the Hound came back.
Okay, so they wanted
they had
to
a prologue.
sort of...
Yeah, they gave him his own thing because it was such a big deal. Because you're like, who is that? Because they keep talking to this character. You see his back, and then also you realize.
Oh no, you knew it was the Hound from the first second. It's right. This has to be a major character that only makes sense if it's the Hound.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And it's neat because he has also he's just sick of everything. He's trying to turn over a new leaf, and the whole point of that story. You think they're setting it up for Clegane Bowl, with him versus
the Hound in the mountain, or Zombie Mountain, or Franken Mountain.
But other developments have come about which make that less likely. But
Game of Thrones has always been one of those shows.
Sure.
That you're like, I know where this is going. You've been doing this in season 1. You're like, okay, she's gonna get those ships. They're gonna sail across, and they're gonna get the
Ned Stark's gonna be fine.
Fantasy tropes.
It
Absolutely.
never happens.
Absolutely.
It never happens the way you're like, I know what's gonna happen. Seriously, it never happens.
Now, I will say though, this season has felt more like, okay, I know what's gonna happen. Not in the sense that's accurate, but just there has been less surprise this season, which is funny because it's the first season past the book. So maybe it's just because I don't know the storytelling elements that are going into it.
Right.
It feels more like this is just a standard television show, a great standard television show, but a television show that uses standard television show formulas. So these characters, so like when Arya and the Waif are having that battle at the end, it's like this is, and she's leading her down the path. It's not she's fleeing, it's she's setting her up for a trap, because in any other show she would be setting her up for a trap. And
so it's a little predictable.
Not necessarily predictable, but it feels less unpredictable.
So on that predictable, and you speak of the Hound, what characters are still alive that you thought would have been dead beforehand, or who's shown up again that you expected were dead in the prior seasons?
Well, I mean, Jon Snow of course is back.
Yeah.
There was no chance he was not coming back,
right.
Frankly.
I remember sitting there, because it was in episode 1, right? It was episode 2. Yeah. The very end of episode 2 is when they bring him back. And I'm like, are they going to? No, they're not going to. And then I forget it's Game of Thrones. So I'm like, they're going to chop his body up in a million pieces and then burn him.
Toss it to the
And then all the fangirls and fanboys are going to be like, no! Kit Harington, no!
So I think that is the one character that he almost has to keep alive. Even though I've only seen the first season, knowing kind of like the background and the spoilers that I know, like I think that's the one character that he wants to go into the future and kind of help lead.
I think there are more than... I think at this point, I feel like we have been introduced to all of the characters who are going to make it to the White Walker battle. I think
3 characters that are going to be riding the 3 dragons.
Yeah,
you mean?
yeah. So you've got Daenerys, Jon Snow,
and Tyrion,
and well, maybe Tyrion Lannister.
He touched the dragon,
but
and he told a story about when he was a child. He always wanted.
No. I do. I think Tyrion will make it to the end.
And there is that theory that Tyrion is a bastard of. He's a Targaryen, right? Because Tywin Lannister killed, the mother after realizing.
I have never heard this theory.
No, and I wouldn't, because he loved his cousin so much that was his wife. So much that he blamed his dwarfen son. Granted, she died in childbirth.
That's what they make you show. Like, that's what the show tells you.
He's so furious at a bastard child that he kills his wife and then hates the offspring.
I guess I kind of see that.
Won't let it be known that he's a cuckold.
Right, that he was the one that actually...
Yeah.
Right. So that would
actually, I've never heard that, but that makes a lot of sense.
So he would be the 3rd dragon rider, because that's the big thing. Like, they tell stories about the 3 dragon riders that came in and destroyed
Harrenhal.
Yeah, Harrenhal. Right. So we're waiting for that. And I tell you one thing that you brought up as far as this season being a little bit predictable, and I get what you're saying. This season feels like it's fast paced.
Yes.
Right? Like, it feels like, unlike the books, which the first 4 or 5 seasons, it takes time to get somewhere, right? Like, Jorah and Tyrion were on a journey to get to Daenerys for about 5 episodes.
Right.
This is like Yara and Theon get on a boat. By the next episode, they're already down with Daenerys, and I'm like, holy shit, what did they use to get down there?
It was funny, because I put together, like, a plotline summary for this episode, and I'm talking to the camera now. And going through and seeing, oh, shit, this episode, they weren't even in that episode. I don't remember there being a gap where it was like, oh, what happened to Yara and Theon? It seemed like one, but the way they structured it worked really well, to where even though a lot of episodes didn't touch on certain storylines, there are certain episodes where Cersei's not in it, you don't really notice. And maybe
I noticed, like, the last episode only had 9. Episode 9 had 2 stories.
Okay, but episode 9 is always different.
And I will tell you, before we start talking about our favorite episodes, like, you finally get to see what you've been hoping to see in the books.
Yeah.
And in the
a giant set-piece battle.
Well, just the dragons.
Oh,
her riding on the back of a dragon, and the dragon just kicking ass. Why do you want to fuck with a woman that can ride on top of a dragon and at command can fire, all your ships? Like, it's amazing. That's what I've been wanting to see in the books, because that is the problem with the book, and it's not a problem. I'm sorry. It just takes a long time to get somewhere. Mm-hmm. You know where it's kind of going, so you know that this is where it's going.
Yeah,
right?
well,
but we're in the 5th book, and she has just now ridden a dragon for the first time.
Speaking of sex, what is your favorite scene?
The close-up shot of a warty dick.
No, what are your favorite episodes?
I don't know if I could talk about
scenes.
I can talk about
what are your favorite scenes?
Well, hold on, before you do that, tell me about some new characters that have come along for this season.
They've only introduced a couple of more, like Lady Mormont, that she is now in charge.
Yeah, that was fun, but I mean,
in the long run,
and that's part of the issue with this is anybody who's just being introduced now doesn't feel all that important.
I don't know. Euron was introduced this season. Euron Greyjoy, and I think he's gonna cause some problems with Daenerys and Yara.
It's kind of interesting. Are they holding, like, Daenerys, Arya, are they sort of holding these women back and, like, waiting and being like, okay, you guys duke it out over here, then we'll release the women over here, and all hell's gonna break loose.
It seems like the women in the show are the ones with the power, though. You've got Cersei in King's Landing. Well, I don't know where that's gonna end up, though. You've got Daenerys, and you've got Yara coming in, and then you've got Arya, and Sansa now, who's playing the game like Littlefinger.
Yeah,
so we don't know really where things are going. But, like, you were asking about our favorite scenes and our favorite episodes. I have to go with Hodor. Hold the door.
You're
so
still
this guy has lived his entire life, most of the time, just for the pure purpose of holding a door. for Bran and
What
Mira.
an existence.
Well, but and it's
So it was a really cool way that it happened, though. Like Bran can travel through time, through the weird trees. I remember that in the books.
Well, he can look back in time through the weird trees, and they kind of hint earlier in the season where he yells in a flashback for
Ned
somebody.
hears him.
Yeah, and it looks like Ned hears him, but he might have heard something else. But so in episode 5, they've been down in this in this little secret lair with the people of the forest and
Children of the Forest.
Children of the Forest. Thank you. And the three-eyed raven, who is
Lawrence Fishburne.
yes, Lawrence Fishburne.
Done. Every movie.
Max von Sydow, who is always great. And they've got this long scene where you think they're just going to reveal all of the things, like who John's parents are and all these things that have been hinted at. But then, like, halfway through the season, they just destroy that because Bran is... I really like this scene where Bran is like, fuck you, I'm going to go look at what I want to look at. And ends up with a vision of the White King's camp where all of a sudden he's affecting real events. The White King all of a sudden knows where he is.
He touches him.
Shit.
Yeah.
The White King
touches him,
reaches out and touches him.
And because up till now, Bran has been present in these flashbacks.
But he hasn't been sort of an active participant or
Right.
made his presence known magically.
Right.
Apparently,
I mean,
we kind of
it's-
knew that he could make a presence because
We
his father
kind of
heard
thought
him.
maybe, because it's the way they started showing it was like Harry Potter in the Pensive, where he's there physically,
But he's just watching something
but
play
he's
out before
watching
him.
things happen.
Okay.
And not actually able to influence events. And they kind of tease that maybe he can. But, you could also just dismiss
Chalk
that
it out
as...
to like environmental cues, like a dog barking in the distance.
Yeah, and I
gets
thought
Ned's
this was,
attention
and I
or-
thought the way they developed that was great, because it was like, well, maybe, and it's like, well, this is obviously just a flashback mechanism, and it's a really cool,
It worked out
a really cool
well
flashback
because
mechanism.
in the middle of a flashback, like they're being attacked by, he said, the White King. And
Yeah.
The White King can go wherever the fuck he wants.
Why's it got to be a White King, man?
Night
That's
King.
racist.
My bad.
Okay,
Night King.
Thank you.
My bad. So they're walking in there and they want Bran, and Bran is being taken by Hodor and Mira, and they're getting the hell out of there through the small corridor, and this amazing scene of, they're called Whites, the little, animated corpses. They're running down this hall, and, he's in the middle of a flashback, and he's still back in time. And she, the three-eyed raven's like, you gotta take over Hodor's body, or he hears Mira saying, you gotta take over Hodor so he can fight off the Whites. And he does. But see, there's a young Hodor in the middle of this flashback, and it kind of causes him to have, like, this seizure. Because he's taking over old Hodor's body. Young Hodor's thrown on the floor having a seizure. And as soon as they get out, like, Hodor closes the door, old Hodor again, closes the door, and Mira says, she turns back and says, hold the door. And he's holding the door, and the kid that's having the seizure, that's all he keeps saying is hold the door, which eventually turns into Hodor.
Hodor.
So all this time we've been reading about this character, we've wanted to know where the name came from, and it is one of the most depressing but satisfying endings to a character.
Yeah, I was
he
going
ends
to
up, like, dying.
I was going to
holding the
make fun of the name Hodor, but knowing the story, it's like, no, you can't really make fun of that.
it's a good story, man.
Yeah, that's
Because
cool.
as a little boy,
But that was one
messed
of my
him up.
favorite scenes. Like,
yeah.
What about you? What did you like?
I really enjoyed the scene that both kind of hit just the dramatic note that I thought it really wanted to hit, and also kind of threw where, what I was saying earlier about it being predictable, kind of threw what you thought was coming for episode 10 into a loop, was the scene where Cersei walks into the Red Keep when Tommen is about to exclaim to the people, and she's made to go into the gallery because she's no longer let up on the dais. And he says, we're no longer doing trial by combat because it is a barbaric custom, blah, blah, blah. And setting her up, because this whole time we thought, okay, she's got the mountain, she's got this trial coming up, of course it's going to be trial by combat, something will come along to make it interesting, because otherwise you've just got this giant undefeatable zombie working for her. So the way that both hit a tremendous dramatic beat with just her, and she played it so well, I mean, with no visible reaction.
Yeah.
And
Great actress.
just the dramatic beat that it hit, but also saying, we've still got some tricks up our sleeve.
Yeah.
was really great.
So that's like the trial of the century.
Well,
Yeah.
that will be the trial. And you were speaking of dramatic, and I don't think, to quote somebody that I read on the internet, like, throughout episode 9, my butthole was so clenched from watching that amazing dramatic episode. Because, I mean, from the beginning, it's like, you have, like, about 15 minutes of Daenerys just,
Yeah.
just saying, fuck you, no more slaves, I'm going to burn your ships down. She takes off on the dragons, and all 3 dragons, which, like I said, I've been wanting to read or see since I've read the first book. They just start blasting ships. And you're like, yes. And then you get cut to Jon Snow and the Battle of the Bastards, which they call the Bastard Bowl.
Yeah, so I have not read, have not seen, but I did watch a special on how they made that scene of the Battle of the Bastards.
It was amazing.
And how it took, like, all this time and all this money, much more than, like, typical episode would cost and time to do it. And the battle, so I'm watching this. It was really, really well done. Like, they had, like, 40 horses, and, they used technology to, like, actually, like, do stuff. It was a really cool thing. So
it was a very dramatic battle. Like, it felt like you were in the middle of it. Like, I wanted, I wanted the guy, Neil Marshall, the guy that directed Blackwater and The Watchers in the Wall, to come back and do this
major
episode.
battles.
Battle
that
episodes.
we've seen.
But the guy that directed this one did such an amazing job.
Oh, he really
This is probably my favorite episode of Game of Thrones. Because, dude, when everybody gives Rickon a hard-ass time, right? Because Rickon,
How old?
Ramsay...
Rickon is not that old at this point.
No,
right, which I think that's why they cut his dialogue, right?
Yeah.
So he doesn't sound like a adult.
Because he
was
has
supposed to.
Well, the actor is a lot older.
Well, he's
now,
as tall as Ramsay when he's even with the angles and stuff that they try to shoot around, they can't. So Ramsay lets him go and he runs in a straight path. And any motherfucker knows that you're dodging bullets. You zigzag, right? So everybody was
that's what I did on the way over here.
But then I'm like, you know what? Zigzagging wouldn't have helped. Zigzagging wouldn't have helped Rickon because all he had to do was just unleash all those arrows and Rickon would have been hit.
There was no way Rickon survived that.
So tell me this, because I'm ignorant of this fact. What is the Bastard Bowl either setting up or ending?
Okay.
So what is it?
It is the pièce de résistance of Ramsay Bolton.
Okay.
It is. We have.
This is all part of I want the throne. Get me
This is the
Ramsay.
One of the most hated characters in the book and in the show. That kind of took over Joffrey's spot when Joffrey died.
Okay.
And to a certain point, like he's probably worse than Joffrey.
I kind of saw that he was kind of being a prick as I watched the scene.
Theon's dick.
Yeah. So brief summary: he is the son of Roose Bolton.
Okay.
He is the bastard son of Roose Bolton, who has always been accepted by Roose, but has never been, well, up until I think last season, officially a Bolton. He's always been a bastard, and he is a horrific sadist. And he has been the character, like Omar said, who you have been just led to hate every part of.
Like he killed his father in the season.
He killed his father this season.
Fed his stepmother to his dogs.
I mean, they really played out
brother to his dogs.
Wow.
Yeah, they really played out him torturing Theon to the point where Theon just became
the entire season 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, all of season 3 was a torture scene for Theon. But anyway. So this was the battle between Jon Snow, the character that came back, who is the rightful heir to Winterfell, along with Sansa. Well, okay, Rickon, but he's gone. But sure as hell not Ramsay. And Ramsay has declared himself the prince and king of Winterfell.
And that's why it's
and
the bastards.
The Boltons had taken over Winterfell.
So you have Jon Snow, who's a bastard, and you have Ramsay.
Right.
So there was this. Yeah, it was a wonderfully shot.
And
like I can't quit.
Yeah, as we're watching it. And they do this. It's so beautifully shot. You feel like, I mean, they do a little bit of the shaky cam, but for the most part, it's a lot of wide shots. So you really get a feel for how the action is moving and how the battle's developing.
Mm-hmm.
Jon Snow shows that he is not the greatest tactical commander. Like he falls for Ramsay, taunting him by killing Rickon. I mean, he goes against all the plans they made the night before. He's going to get himself killed. So, and all his troops come out after him. They get encircled, like they were saying, is exactly what they don't want to happen. And I'm sitting here watching this, and I'm like, this is like the motherfucking Battle of Cannae.
Yeah.
And then we're watching the after show, and they're like, "Well, we used the Battle of Cannae as a which is an old Roman battle,
Right?
But like just every amount of detail, like the bodies that were piled on top of bodies that all had to have the right marking of whether they were Freys or whether they were Boltons or.
Yeah, and the horses, the fake horses that they were using.
Oh, yeah, and it was people are just climbing up bodies. Jon Snow's getting buried underneath people, getting trampled. Mm-hmm. I mean, it was so visceral, and there are a lot of Game of Thrones moments where you kind of, ugh, but they're short. Right. This was like 20 minutes of like, you're watching it, you're sinking down, and you're like, oh shit, this is getting harder and harder to watch. Ooh, and frankly, you never doubt for a minute that Jon Snow's coming out of this alive.
But what is this leading to? Like,
this was leading to
Sansa teaming with Littlefinger because he told her we don't need his help,
and it is getting rid of the Boltons from the north and giving Winterfell back to the Starks.
Littlefinger is one of the people that betrayed his father. They don't know that,
right?
But as the reader and viewer know, you don't trust that motherfucker, and if you're gonna go to arms with him, then something, you got to give something.
Right.
And that's what Jon didn't want to do. But they came in and they're the ones to save the day. The Knights of the Vale. So...
he didn't even know, did he?
No, he didn't.
Yeah. Sansa never even told him that
so the battle
was offered.
The battle, took place in this huge battleground, and then they ended up in the Winterfell, where it all began. And
then Ramsay gets his comeuppance
by Sansa.
By Sansa.
Because as Jon Snow is beating the shit out of him, he realizes,
that's what I wanted to talk about.
Kill. Like, it's not my kill. It's not my kill. Like, he looks at his sister and he realizes that she's the one that
has suffered the most out of
So
all
she
this.
Literally just, like, and she doesn't do anything. She just puts him in a cage with his dogs that eat people, and they end up eating him.
And
she has a nice little smirk on her face.
The smirk when she walked away. So... Tell me about some of the death scenes and characters that you watched.
What is the body count?
Okay,
in
so
this season?
Body count.
I believe a character has died in every episode with the exception of episode 8.
Give me the numbers or the names.
So up in the north, Sir Alistair died, who was the major kind of antagonist to Jon.
He's the one that led the people to kill Jon.
Yeah.
He's gone.
And Ollie and all of his conspirators. Ollie with a smirk on his face that episode. Man, good for him dying. That was 4.
Well, okay.
None of whom we particularly care about.
All right.
Asha.
The hotness that was Asha, my favorite.
Yeah, she lasted for 15 minutes.
She was a wildling.
Once she was reintroduced.
She played Tonks in Harry Potter, which I know you've seen.
I liked her.
Okay, now I can't watch this.
Obviously,
well, we talked about Rickon. So
we talked about Rickon.
Hodor.
Alswearingen died.
I don't think that counts, but whatever.
It absolutely counts.
The Greyjoy king.
The Greyjoy king.
So the final king, when you were saying 5 kings, he was the final king.
Okay.
And Doran Martell died with his guard and his son in the most predictable set of deaths ever.
That the whole Sand Snake plotline in that previous season, everybody was excited about the Sand Snakes, including me. I'm like, oh, Sand Snakes, yes. And then it was the biggest letdown fight scene ever. But the one girl redeemed herself by showing her boobs, and I was like, oh. The Sand Snakes are awesome again.
Boobs. It doesn't take much.
It doesn't take much for me.
I mean, obviously, Ramsay Bolton.
Ramsay
11.
Bolton. Roose. Did Roose die this season? Or was that?
Yes, Roose Bolton died this
season. 12.
So of these deaths...
1-1! 1-1 died.
The last of the giants.
1-1 is the giant, and he's so great in that last battle. He's like the only thing you think, oh, he's gonna save the day. He's gonna at least knock a hole in the shield wall, and he makes it through that final battle, and then Ramsay kills him, and it's like, no! I saw that coming.
Is the guy that you wanted dead.
Yes,
obviously, yeah.
So of all these deaths, which one bothered you guys the most?
1-1.
1-1. I gathered.
Asha, because I never get to see her wilding pubes again.
I'm pretty sure I know who you're talking about, and she's pretty freaking hot.
She is really hot.
Okay, that was the sex scene right there.
Wait, pubes?
And the Wraith, I guess she counts. The Arya.
The Waif.
The Waif, I'm sorry.
Wraith?
The wifey?
Too many RPGs.
Waifu.
So yeah, Arya killed her.
Maybe she's dead.
Who knows?
You don't think so?
Well, I mean, they did show her face cut off on a wall. But,
apparently, that doesn't mean anything.
It is Game of Thrones. So, with that, let's go watch episode 10.
All right. Let's see who gets killed now.
Well, that just happened. And again, if you haven't seen episode 10, massive spoilers, because everything that you can happen. Okay, we're back. And apparently I am the hand of the queen.
Aren't you fancy?
Yes, thank you very much.
So much happened in this episode. I didn't know you could compact an episode with so much epicness, right? Because episode 9 was so great that I was like, what do they have left to do? Apparently, a shit ton, because right off the bat, we have this long... well, you wanted to talk about Marjorie and the High Sparrow.
So. And we didn't touch on this earlier, but we got this long character development of Marjorie. What is her game? She's running a game. What is it?
We ain't gonna find out now. Ain't nobody know now.
So just okay, again, I've not seen a full episode of this show. Is it always where so many deaths happen, so many huge things that I barely understand occur?
This is the episode, I think, that they've killed off the most major characters.
Yeah,
I
counted 6 major character deaths.
So we lost Marjorie and
that's
Tomlin.
And that's top level major characters.
Right.
So it was Marjorie, Lord Tyrell, Maester Pycelle, who
Varys killed in the book, so I found it very interesting that it was kind of weird that the little kids were killing him. That was pretty
cool.
It's kind of graphic, but...
The High Sparrow.
Yeah.
Tommen. And Walder Frey.
So, before we get into that, we have all these characters, like the High Sparrow. Like, I'm one of those people that was like, is he a good guy? Or is he a bad guy? Does he have any... Is there some kind of selfish thing that he's doing? Now we don't get to find out, right?
I always thought of him as the classic villain who thinks he's the hero.
Vegeta.
Yes. Well...
You cannot complain. You can't compare him to Vegeta.
Does that make Cersei Goku?
Oh, no.
No, not at all.
No.
Like, seriously, that coronation scene...
What did he say his name was?
The entire time I'm playing out the whole Starscream coronation, hoping somebody will come in and shoot him.
Disrupts my coronation!
That's pretty good. But yeah.
So yeah, they set up the wildfire early on. You get down to that tunnel. It's like casks of wine, and
that was a long scene because the whole time you're like, what? Okay, what the hell's going on? They're gonna kill Loras. Oh, I forgot, he's another guy, right? The cousin fucker. So they kill him right out. Like he's getting led down this tunnel by some kid, and you're like, man, where is this going? No. Well, he's following a little kid.
Yeah. The kid actually, he really knows that he's following, and he hopes he follows just so he can...
Right, so the whole thing, it's keeping you in suspense with that creepy, eerie piano music that they never use in the show. And then you're like, oh shit, when you see the wildfire.
Why would you keep that many explosives under the city?
And the thing is like...
So the reason for that is... Step. Before all of this happened, the war where Robert Baratheon became king... The
Mad King.
The Mad King had filled all of the King's Landing with wildfire, and he was going to destroy the entire city and everyone in it.
That's what he kept screaming.
Let himself
burning.
Be killed. Yeah. And so, when they mentioned Jaime being a Kingslayer, Jaime knew that that's why he killed him.
Okay.
And so all of this has been sitting under the city for 20 years. Jaime is the only one who knows it, basically. He's the only one left who knows it's all there. Obviously, at some point, he told Cersei.
And she used it.
To destroy her enemies.
And so dirty.
And the one thing about Cersei is that she always she did everything for her children.
And that's gone.
And then she has no more children. So all she has now is the realm, the Seven Kingdoms.
The rest of this season, particularly, maybe not 9, but episodes 1 through 8, felt like it took its sweet time with everything.
No, I thought this season moved fast.
That's what I was saying. I'm not saying it felt slow. I'm saying it felt like it had a little room to breathe.
Oh, yeah, because everything has been set up for this, apparently.
Yeah,
and everything that you've been wanting to happen, happened. Now, whether you wanted it to happen,
right.
Stories are just, within the season, Sansa and Jon came together, and they've never shared a scene together in the entire show or the books. They're reunited. So it's really cool to see things happening at a faster pace.
And the wolf is back at Winterfell in the opening.
Yes. Oh, that was such a nice thing to see. That That was so nice to see.
That was
again.
great.
I was surprised to see Arya back so quickly at the phrase.
Oh, apparently now everybody has like boom tubes.
Yeah, or portals. They could just.
Well, you had talked about like pacing and like everything's taken a really sweet time to get here, but like people were moving.
I think the
things were
pacing really hit you with that final shot.
Yeah.
When Varys is talking to the Dornish people and the Queen of Thorns, right?
Yeah.
And then he's back on the
And,
ship,
I
and
mean,
you're like,
if I'm
holy
remembering
shit,
right,
how close are these people?
So, have you changed anything? Like your favorite kills, your favorite moments?
This whole episode.
This is my favorite season by far.
Oh yeah. This season, everything's happening. All of the pieces that have been set up.
Because the books, they've left the books behind, right?
I know. So they're not
now
having
it's like they're free to do their own pacing. They're doing Hollywood style TV show pacing.
Yeah, I mean, it really does feel.
People that are used to the way that it's been before, are like, holy shit, things are happening in every episode. Because in previous seasons, you have episodes 1 through 7 that kind of lead up to the big 8, 9, especially, and then 10. This is like everything is happening. I think my favorite scene out of this episode 10 was the King of the North. Like, King of the North to me is very. It was a very moving scene in season 1, right? Ned just died. His son is now, he's like, I'm gonna kill all those motherfuckers that killed my dad, and then everybody's like, I don't need no damn king on the throne. The only king I need is the king of the North. And so everybody pledges.
Yeah.
And I remember in the books, he never did this in the TV show, but in the books, Rob said, I'm gonna name Jon Snow my heir in case something happens to me. And I remember Catelyn Stark was like, you can't do that. She was really upset. So it was really cool that Jon Snow became the King of the North.
See,
I love that scene, and it was very moving.
Of all the scenes in a very unsettling episode, that was the most unsettling scene because Jon doesn't want that.
But there's also that shadow of
was
Littlefinger hanging right there watching.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you don't know what his game is either. Apparently, he ain't got no play with Sansa. So.
He was very shifty.
His game is compatible with Jon being king of the North.
Right. He wants the throne. He doesn't give a shit about the North.
Right.
So, yeah, I love that scene.
But that where he is kind of struggling for like, what do I do here? I don't really want to be here, but I'm forced here. How do I handle this now? And these lords, they don't want a bastard on the throne. And then, little Lady Mormont stands up and does her speech, and and he seems almost, if he could run away, I think he.
I don't know. I got a different view. I thought he was kind of happy about it. Like, he kind of had a little smile. I don't know. Maybe
I wouldn't
I took it a different way.
Happy. I think the full weight of what is finally happening
Just
settled on his shoulders, and he had that like stare into eternity of like, this is what I have to do. I'm not necessarily proud, but this is what I have to do. And if you looked at Sansa's face when that scene was playing out, she had a little bit of a smirk, and then when they start saying the King of the North and named Jon, that smirk kind of went away a little bit.
Yeah.
Even though she wanted him to take her place, did she really want him to take her place?
I don't think Jon cares about things like that, though. He knows the big issue is these motherfuckers that are coming here, and they're going to take our jobs, and then they're going to take our women, and they're here illegally.
That's
so
what
we need to do something.
That's why we're going to build a wall, see? Build a wall.
That Benjen Stark can't pass.
Apparently.
So let me ask you guys about something that I thought was pretty disturbing. What do you think about meat pie?
Arya's badass, man. She's chopping motherfuckers up and serving them now. And, this is an innocent little girl that, we saw from season 1. Hit him with the pointy end. She has gone through shit. She saw her father get beheaded. Well, didn't see it. She saw her mother and brother get killed. She's gone through a lot of shit. Mm-hmm. So it's now time to come back and take some fucking vengeance. And I hope she's the one that cuts Cersei's heart out. Because that would be the most fulfilling thing, I think, for Arya to kill Cersei.
What do you think is going to happen?
I would, apparently, next season, because there's 2 more seasons, right? And they're going to be shorter episodes, sadly. They're going to only be 7 episodes long.
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
You got Cersei in King's Landing.
Yeah.
You got Daenerys coming from the south. And then you've got Jon Snow's, who's not even worried about the shit down here. He's worried about the damn
up north.
White Walkers coming in. So next season, I think is going to be the battle for King's Landing, which is Daenerys and Cersei.
So Daenerys lands in Dorne.
Picks up some sand snakes.
And makes her way to King's Landing, fighting the Lannister army first. That seems like it's going to be pretty anticlimactic. I can't see that.
Oh, I'm sure there's...
episodes.
Well, no. It's not going to be just that. There's going to be a lot of shit. Sam's got to read some books, man.
Okay, going back a second, that was a nice bit of levity in the middle of this episode.
You got to see where that thing came from at the beginning
sun.
of the episode.
Yeah.
So going back to predictions, do you think that Jon and the rest of the North characters intersect with Daenerys and or Cersei next season?
I
or
think by the ending of next season, it will be Jon and Daenerys not fighting, but coming together for a greater cause. Yeah. Like, because, you know...
Wait. Coming together?
Not like two dicks kissing.
No.
Like...
Wait. Is it like this coming together?
That wall's gonna come down.
Yeah.
Like,
all over our faces!
Have you seen that wall? It would make Donald Trump really proud. It's fucking huge.
Bad is gonna happen because they always set that up like, at least we have this wall. At least we have this wall.
They
The
always
wall's
forget
coming
about
down.
that giant tunnel they
It's
have under the
coming
wall,
down.
too. They have all these little tunnels under the wall. It's not like people are like, you know...
But there's magic
crawl
built into the
tunnels.
base. That's what they always go back to. There's magic built in there. You know,
El
the
Chapo
dead
got
can't
out of
fall.
jail by crawling through the toilet. I don't see why White Walkers aren't smart enough to go...
Well, wait, you talked about
right there.
predictability. What you all are saying, like, this makes sense. This is probably going to happen, which means that this is not going to happen, what you all are predicting. Don't
Right.
forget that.
Well,
Well,
Good point.
that is a good point. Like, really, Daenerys could die in episode 1 of next season. It's Game of Thrones, so it's anything goes.
She's not gonna die.
They're
She's
not
going to die.
kill her.
She's going to die.
She can come back to life.
Did anybody die in this episode who was a major established character who we really thought was safe from harm's way until the last few episodes of the last season? I don't think so.
No, not really.
I mean,
taking
Marjorie's
out Marjorie
always been a side
and
character.
all the people, like High Sparrow, I thought they would stick around for a little bit. Didn't see that coming.
No. I thought Marjorie had more time, but I never saw her being at the end game.
Yeah, and I wonder if they're going to play on the whole Yara and Daenerys kind of flirting with each other for next season.
Why?
For ratings.
Hot chicks.
Well,
Two chicks going at it. It's HBO.
But
Have you
that
not seen
doesn't
those
go on,
Sopranos?
boobs.
Boom.
Sure.
Side boom, under boom. Yep.
but that does go against the whole point of her dumping Dario.
Well, it's female lovers don't count, remember? That's what he said. He said a king can take chicks with
Take a
him.
mistress, but
So the big question is, okay, this is what you think is going to happen. What do you want to happen that will make you all be like, okay, this is the greatest thing ever. I'm satisfied with Game of Thrones.
I think no matter what we think, what's really going to happen is it's going to be like a giant graveyard and like snow falling on it. And that's how the show's going to end.
you just want total annihilation.
And maybe Sam looking at like all the
Coming out with a
headstones.
book and he's like, guys, I found...
That's exactly how it's going to end. God damn it.
Oh,
I
the last
I know
man on
the
earth.
way we've got this set up
There you
doesn't
go.
let it happen, but I would love to see Cersei at the last battle.
Oh, man, I don't know. I think
I don't know
Cersei's not
how it
gonna survive
happens.
next
I don't know
season.
how it happens, but I think there is. I don't know that there is anyone who is as conniving as she is, and maybe that's not what you need when you're fighting against pure evil. But
I would counter because Daenerys is very not conniving, but she's very much on game, and with Tyrion as her tactician, she's got some really good movements and good gameplay.
Yeah.
yeah,
So I
It's gonna be
think
interesting.
it's two powerful
It's going to be
women.
interesting to see that clash, that battle next season. I think that's what's coming. I wonder though, I was surprised they didn't show the White Walkers in this episode, because I was kind of hoping them showing them just reach the wall by now.
you know what, they mentioned them enough. We haven't forgotten them, and we
Right, they show up every season.
Yeah, I mean, last
I
season
think
we
they
got the
almost want you to
big
kind
glory
of
battle.
forget about them, to put them in the back of your mind, because even though it's building, like these people, the game that's going on right now, no one's thinking about things in the past or
Right.
what may be.
Except
and so
for
they
Jon.
kind of want to
But now
put that in your mind, kind of have it in the back there with Jon.
They could have done that in the first. They've done that in the first few
Yeah.
seasons, but now we've gotten so far ahead that Tyrion mentioned the White Walkers. Like there's
Yeah.
every character just knows about these White Walkers. I would hope next season and the final season there's huge battles, because eventually, I mean, season 8 will be the dragons against the White Walkers army, and Daenerys, Tyrion, and Jon, I assume, riding the dragons. So we all think like the House Stark, their motto or their thing is
Winter is coming.
winter's coming, right? So when they said winter's here, we all think that's a good thing, because it is a good thing. But then we realize, oh shit, who's making all this snow? Why is this winter so bad?
Which Bran sees all about Jon's past.
Oh, well, okay.
Why not just spell it out? I mean, they really
She
did.
whispered
it's,
it.
Little tiny baby eyes.
Transition.
Jon Snow.
Jon Snow eyes.
Always
but
looking
still.
like he's lost eyes.
You had talked
Yeah,
about
but-
the third eye, and if when you're looking at these flashback mechanisms, does he have an effect on what's going on? You remember when Ned was running up the steps, he stopped for a second, was like, the fuck?
Yeah, one of the biggest.
We like fart, and then he kept going. So it was like, okay, is there
Did
any
I
more validity
eat
to
one?
this?
I mean,
So one of the biggest theories is that Bran is the one that started all this by going back and like, remember the Mad King would hear whispers, and that's what drove him mad. So people were thinking that maybe Bran went back through time and at some point made contact with the Mad King, and that's what he keeps hearing is burn them all. That maybe it was Bran that was suggesting that. Therefore,
So-
making Bran like everything is his fault.
Does that make him the big bad, or does that mean that he is setting all these plans in motion to bring together the characters who need to be together to be there at the final battle, who can actually defeat the White Walkers?
I don't know, but by that point, if that's true, they need somebody like Doc Brown to show up and be like, look, this is the way it was. We need to go travel back to 1955 and
Go
stop
back.
this shit.
To the future.
Prior to this point in time, somewhere in the past, the timeline skewed into this tangent.
It's your
kids,
kids in the
Ned.
future.
We gotta do
Bran, you
something about your
fucked up.
kids.
Get in the DeLorean. Oh, that would be such a great way to end that show.
although I want to
Gotta
point
go
out something
back
that
in
goes all the way
time.
back to the books is Jon Snow would technically be the son of ice and fire.
Mind blown.
So winter is here.
Thanks for watching. Please subscribe. Tell us what you liked about this episode. If you didn't like it, we don't actually want to know that. Why?
Give my hand of the king back.
I'm keeping this. I'm the hand of the queen. I got something she can put in her hand. Oh, I should have said that.
I got it right.
Wait, you're still rolling.